Welcome everybody to the Ottawa Board of Trade's Roundtable event here with council candidates in the Ottawa community. Election's coming up just a few days away, and we're very thankful to have two candidates with the both from the east end of Ottawa, one from Alta Vista Ward and one from Beacon Hill Cedarville, with us today on the line for our roundtable. Miranda Gray and Carolyn Kropp, thank you both for being here today to have a bit of a conversation with the business community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just set the table a little bit, if I may, by explaining a little bit about the Ottawa Board of Trade. We are a membership organization, and we're driven with some fantastic team members, some fantastic staff, but we also have a lot of volunteer involvement. I myself am a volunteer, and I should have introduced myself off the top, but my name is Rick, and again, team volunteer, not a professional roundtable moderator. But we're also the Ottawa Board of Trade, with its membership throughout the community, truly is the voice of the business community. And we offer great member-to-member incentives as to why people like to be a member of the organization. There's fantastic education, and there's also this exact type of work where we do advocacy work primarily at the municipal level on behalf of the business members. If you can think of a small business that needs to be at their shop Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or in a lot of cases for small business, it's 7 days a week, and it's a lot more than a 9 to 5. Very difficult to get to a council meeting, let's say, and share a discontent or share a concern or share positivity. I don't know if anybody goes to council meetings talking about positivity that much, but so this is really our role, right? Our members can bring some concerns or challenges or questions forward to the larger organization, and as a group of both, again, dedicated staff with our CEO and President Su-Ling Ching, and on the line today, Evan and Lynn, as an example of just tremendous team members. We've got a lot of horsepower to be able to bring a message to City Hall that sometimes needs to be heard. Some of that work, though, we actually get to meet key community members that are running for council, and that's what we're doing here today. So very easy format, a couple of questions on behalf of the business community to these two council candidates, and then we're going to share this as we are, and you're probably watching this right now on our website, or you've seen this in an email. So first off, I'd love, though, for these two council candidates to introduce themselves, maybe starting with Miranda Gray. Miranda, and I know you don't have video capabilities today, and that's just fine. We can hear you loud and clear. If maybe tell us, take about a minute, and please introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for council.
Sure. My name is Miranda Gray. I'm running for Beacon Hill Cedarville. And I think for this group, my story would start with my parents. My father ran a small business in a small village, the main employer of the small village. And it became clear through watching his work life and how difficult it was, that it wasn't really something that I was as keen to get into. So in my professional life, I've chosen to work for other people rather than start a small business of my own, although I'm well aware of how much that can impact the family life. So mostly I've worked in nonprofits. And occasionally I've worked for large corporations like IBM, working in the public sector. Right now I'm working for a telecom in Quebec as a contractor. So it's a small business competing. So I'm familiar with your issues, but I have never been a business owner of any great extent. I'm running because I believe that everyone needs to be involved in our discussions. And I am concerned that as our city changes, that we make sure we maintain a space for small businesses as well as places for people to live. And those two can work well together when we plan it correctly. If we do it badly, then we're not a desirable city, and corporations find it difficult to recruit people to come here, or people can't afford to live where they work. And neither of those are desirable outcomes, so we have to work together.
Thank you very much. And Carolyn Kropp, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Kropp, running as candidate in Alta Vista Ward. So my professional experience, which relates to the business community, is I've been working in the Ottawa South MPP's office for the past 7 years with John Fraser, And through that office, dealing with business owners, residents on a daily basis, throughout the pandemic especially, we saw firsthand that businesses were struggling, especially small businesses. And we were there to try and help them navigate the openings and closings and shutdowns and public health mandates, and sort of filtering them through to the ministries, their respective ministries. So I'm very well versed in that aspect, and what small businesses, what their normal struggles are, and then what their struggles have been, and what they're still facing in terms of things have not returned to normal. And we're looking at a new normal, and how do we navigate this new normal in terms of City Hall and Ottawa and downtown. Even though Alta Vista is not downtown, it's moving the City of Ottawa forward and trying to revitalize the downtown, and looking at the new way that people want to work from home or just get to work as before, and looking at all of those different types of issues.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. And I appreciate you both taking a moment to introduce yourself, and I'm sure our those who are watching at a later time appreciate the introductions. I would like to highlight, before kind of jumping into a question here for you both, we'd like to highlight a little bit about the Ottawa Board of Trade's Build Up Ottawa campaign. We really thought it was important, again, group of volunteers and staff team members coming around the table to really look at what are some of the key priorities. We did go to our full membership, surveyed our membership as to what the business community's priorities were for this municipal next term of the municipal government. And I will say that one thing really was front and center, and that was collaboration. And the business community is asking for consistency, but also asking council candidates for collaboration. And in addition to collaboration, we're really looking for a council and a mayor that are interested in driving growth, funding, smart transit, funding smart infrastructure, and we could go into what that means, but fostering innovation, and are really looking for growth of our city in the future, so that we can really be, affordable, inclusive, sustainable, and world class. I guess it's not a small request on behalf of the business community, but we do want to bring the message to any candidate that we're here to partner. We're here to bring messages. We're here to work closely with you as a successful counselor to work very closely hand in hand. We do partner with other partners such as the Ottawa Tourism, Invest Ottawa, our local BIAs, the Airport Authority, home builders associations, and lots of times there's a partnership. Although there's an advocacy role with council, there's also a really good partnership with the City of Ottawa directly for all kinds of issues where it doesn't need a hammer advocacy type approach. It's a conversation lots of times where there's a back and forth communication directly with the city, which we're very proud to have. All that to say, see, I feel like I've done my job now as a volunteer. I've got the rah out, and but I do want to make this about you. You've given up some time today to be here with the business community, and by doing so, we want to make sure that we provide you with an opportunity to share a little bit more about kind of some of the issues that are most important to you. So I'll turn it to first over to Miranda with a question. And as I mentioned, you've got about 2 minutes to answer this, just to be fair to others who are, as we do this throughout the week. Oh, hey, it is also Small Business Week. I mean, I missed to not say it's Small Business Week this week. So that's some of the reason why we're doing this. So I'll ask you this question, Miranda. Local small businesses at the heart of community, culture, and our economy, but small business in particular have been disproportionately impacted by pandemic restrictions, and many continue to be on life support. What would you think the City Council should do, could do to support business growth? I'll turn it over to you and take a few minutes to let us
Sure.
know your thoughts.
You did that a little different way than I thought you were going to ask based on your intro there. So I was thinking about your intro first.
Sure.
So part of my story is where I work now is a tech innovation hub. So there's a lot of collaboration. One of our goals is to make people have lunches together between companies so that people can bounce ideas off each other. And I think that's important that we talk about more than just money. Frequently, when these groups come before council, it's about money, and we don't share all the other things that are going on. So when you talk about BIAs, that sometimes comes down to a discussion about money, not about promoting and what's going on to build up areas. I think it's important that in all these photo ops that councillors tend to do, that the focus be on the business, not the councillor. I mean, you might guess from today that maybe I'm not that keen on cameras, but the point is to show off businesses to a wider audience and help them survive and thrive, rather than to promote the councillor, which people probably don't care what the councillor looks like, or they know what the councillor looks like. So I think we have to get grassroots and make sure we understand the needs of various organizations, and that the smallest businesses won't have any time to join organizations to promote themselves. They really need someone to come to them. So I think one of the missed opportunities of COVID that we had was a chance to hire some students under COVID funding and to get the Google footprint of every small business in a ward online. I know that I live in Orleans, so I'm connected with Heart of Orleans Business Association, in that I represent a group that's just off the main drag. It's difficult for a small business to have time to do that, but in terms of helping them be found by their neighbors, it's very beneficial. So I feel that was a missed opportunity for us to employ some of our young people and get a good job skill for them, and to help businesses get their message out. So I see there's ways of collaborating that aren't just about money, but that are about getting attention for the small businesses as part of helping them survive.
Thank you for that. And I've been told that I should not editorialize or jump in or agree or disagree too much, because then I might accidentally endorse or support. So there's when I'm just kind of saying thank you after answers, it's not because I'm not engaged with what you're saying, of course. It's because I'm trying to be respectful of the process. But trust me, yeah, I'd love to jump in and chat. So thank you for that. Great answer. Peter Karwacki, I believe it's Karwacki. Am I saying your name right, Peter?
Yes, that's it.
Great. I will come to you, and thank you for joining us. I'll come to you in just a few moments. I want to go over to Carolyn Kropp first to answer this question. Peter, when I do come to you, I'll give you the chance to maybe introduce yourself a bit, and then I'll fire that question at you. Just thank you for being here. Carolyn, over to you. So I was talking about small business being the heart of our community, culture, our economy, and kind of the disproportionate impact through the last few years in particular, and really what can City Council do to support business growth?
So as I said in my intro, in my professional experience, I've dealt with small businesses struggling throughout the pandemic and trying to help advocate for them through restrictions, even just getting clarity on what some of the ministerial restrictions were all about and how they had to navigate that. And knocking at doors in Alta Vista Ward, in our local community, small businesses are still struggling. And we see that every day. So that's what I've been hearing from them, that they'd like a councillor at City Hall to advocate for them better. That's what a councillor's job is to do, to either amplify their voices or to have a strong voice that represents either the small business sector, residents, you name it. The other thing that City Hall can do and around the council table is to create an environment that fosters new businesses. So if that means eliminating red tape, some of the bureaucracy that small businesses and corporations find is limiting them, then that's definitely a discussion that we can have and look at trying to mitigate some of those issues for them. And as Miranda was saying, it's always down to funding. Everyone needs funding, and so that's what City Hall can do as well. And councillors, is that you advocate for funding models either at the local level or through your connections provincially and federally. I know I was at the breakfast meet and greet a few weeks ago, and I really loved the one sort of example that they asked is they wanted any new councillors coming into Ottawa City Hall to be bold and to look at doing some radical collaboration. And I liked that term. And hearing the CEOs from different business sectors speak, again, we have many of the hospitals here in our ward specifically. And so listening to Cameron Love speak, hospitals need recruiting. They need to recruit. And how do we foster that environment to bring in more people? So that's all part and parcel of what City Hall can do.
Thank you very much. And I was very proud to be at that event, and certainly do love that radical collaboration. It has evolved from there, and there's some collaboration happening between the business community and United Way and some other partners that are maybe a little bit less expected, even in this municipal election, which is it's exciting from my perspective, because I do think social justice and the business community drive each other, right? People don't want to live in a city that doesn't have a strong, let's call it social environment, social presence, and charitable presence. And businesses can't thrive without people that want to live in that city as well. So these two things really do go hand in hand. And of course, the tax revenue generated by business is where a lot of those funding models come from. So anyway, again, I said I wouldn't agree or disagree with particular answers, but here I am talking about it and editorializing a little bit. Peter, thank you for joining us. I want to give you an opportunity. I've given everybody about 1 minute to introduce themselves and about 2 minutes to answer that question, but maybe I'll throw it to you. Introduce yourself, take about 3 minutes, introduce yourself, and then, what do you think City Council can do to support business growth?
Thanks for the opportunity. I apologize for not being trade. I think it's a great opportunity to speak to a group. I miss municipal elections, so everything I say has to be put into quotation marks. But I'm trying to promote myself as a candidate for councillor, and it's a ward where it's quite diverse. We have basically kind of the ward, and then kind of the projects with the OCH. 30% identify as francophone, and you have it's kind of like you have urban interests and suburban interests. They don't always mean to see how you would present yourself as with business. Business is interested in making money. They want to make a living.
Peter, I don't want to interrupt you here, but I'm having a little bit of a trouble with the audio. It seems to be kind of cutting in and out. Why don't you, I never want to tell anyone to turn off their video, but why don't we try that just so we can make sure we hear you very well. We do have the opportunity for what goes on the website to edit a little bit here too. So you can maybe start from the top if you'd like to. I hate to interrupt anyone's train of thought, but let's try it like that. We might have a little bit better opportunity to hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to say one sound.
I think we're still cutting in and out, unfortunately, a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and we'll do the best we can to interpret.
Okay. Well, ward 13, and it's a verse ward that I live in, where we very affluent people living in the north, very economically, people living in the south, and a large group of francophones in the middle of this. It's very difficult to represent that ward within it. However, business interest, they want to make a living, and art is primarily providing green space, healthy, productive labor inside Rideau Rockcliffe. Rideau Rockcliffe is big. Well, we have some businesses. It's like there's a mall. There's a few businesses located along.
Peter, we are still having a pretty good amount of trouble hearing you, and I guess these are the joys of trying to do a virtual. It's a little more convenient, but it's not great from a technology sometimes. Why don't we? What we'll do is we can connect with you after this event. We can test some technology and then invite you back to really make sure. I just hate having anybody who's running for office not sound their best when they're trying to convey their message. I don't think that's fair to you, and also we want to be fair to anybody watching. But I do want to connect with you after. Is that, hopefully that's okay with you? And we'll clean up the tech and then have you come back, or we'll figure out a way to make sure that that you get to take part in this as well.
You know, I do have other tools here. I can switch around to different devices. For example, now I'm using a set of Bose headphones that have speakers on them. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that is a million times better. Okay, go ahead. Thanks again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've got a MacBook here in my office. I've got Bose speakers. I've got Logitech cameras. I mean, the technology is up the yin yang.
Okay,
we're trying to.
Over to you, Peter. We'll ask you the question then. What can City Council do to support business growth?
The City Council is what I'm aspiring to be a member of. And what is City Council if not a representation of the community? However, if your community is so diverse and complicated, it's hard to speak for them. For example, recently we had a candidate meetup that was supposed to be set up for all the community associations in the ward. You know, that would be Rideau, that would be Rockcliffe, Linden Lay, Cardinal Glen, Overbrook. And do you know that at that meeting, it was supposed to be a joining of forces. There were more candidates there than there were actual electors. The level of engagement is appalling. People just are not interested. I asked a couple of people, well, you know that only 1 in 3 people actually votes in this ward, and the response is, well, you know, we're apathetic, and the reason for it is because we don't think that no matter who we vote for, nothing will change. And I think that reflects the problem that is presented by council doing something for businesses. I mean, if, for example, we had a ward like the ward where there was great engagement, and you were the mayor, and you looked at that councillor, you'd say, you know what, that councillor is engaged, the community is engaged. I can see he brings a lot of votes with him. And then you compare it to this other councillor where only less than 1 in 3 vote, and there's a low level of engagement. Who would you want to spend your time with? So this is the problem. I mean, you need to have that engagement because it reflects the community, it reflects the businesses, it reflects the energy of the people and the cohesion, I might add. Well, certainly we don't have the cohesion that's necessary. So one of the things I set myself about to do is to try and build cohesion. I inform people of the fact that they're not engaged. I inform people of the fact that even if you are elected, you still have to reach out to the other councillors. You simply can't sit there on your seat with your arms closed and say, okay, I vote this way, I vote that way, and not try and convince the other councillors of the veracity of your ideas. What I'm talking about is dialogue, where people are, it's not a debate, it's a dialogue. And the purpose is to make the community better. It's not to try and ram through your point of view. Now, very often a candidate will say, well, I did this, or I did that, or I was the center of this, or I was the center of that. But that's not it at all. What we need are people working together. Now, let me just say, first of all, I liked what Yvonne said, Yvonne Cote said, where you really want to represent your community. You want to, and every councillor wants the best for their ward. But the trick is who's going to deliver the goods.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you somehow managed to fit that into exactly 3 minutes. So thank you for self-moderating. Appreciate it very much. Carolyn, I'm going to come to you with this question. Cities around the world are investing, in aggressive post-pandemic economic plans. Cities around the world are really trying to attract investment, attract talent to their cities. Here in Ottawa, we seem to be really slow to recover. How do you think we inspire confidence for investors, and how do we inspire confidence for entrepreneurs?
So, I mean, yeah, the past few years at council have not been very collaborative. And unfortunately, we are a global world-class city, but we haven't looked like one of late. And so I think we need to work on that reputation. And that comes down to council members working together. Can't say it enough. We all talk about collaboration, but it's to actually bring it to the table and to do it every day and to create an atmosphere that's respectful, inclusive, and transparent, and to make sure that residents see that you are trying that and that you come back to them with reasons why votes were taken, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of on the global scale, I know that business leaders and the different business sectors are doing their best. It's a very competitive global market out there. And so Ottawa has to look at what it can do to create a space to attract and recruit, whether it's workers, more residents to come and work and live in Ottawa. And so that's, again, promoting ourselves through tourism, and working together with all different sectors throughout the city. Not just business, as you said, social justice sectors, not-for-profits, charities. We all need to work together because we all have different perspectives of what will make the city great. And if we all work together, we can sort of move Ottawa forward and continue attracting the best talent so that we reap those rewards.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Miranda, I'm going to come to you last as you started things off, and I'll give you the most opportunity to think about a response. But Peter, I'll go over to you. How do we inspire confidence here in Ottawa for investors and for entrepreneurs?
It's an interesting problem. I've always maintained that we have to be able to work in peer groups. We have to get groups together that are non-competing members and do some serious benchmarking and some appraisal of performance analytics of the businesses. People need to have confidence that what they're doing seems to make sense in terms of what's going on in the business community, and also share some of the methodologies. I mean, we have to break beyond the fact that we're not competitors, but we are working together to try and improve our businesses and share our knowledge and share our competencies. So when you work together in these kind of peer groups, you can find out, well, what is the correct number of employees to have? What is the correct amount of money to spend on advertising? What is the appropriate level of time to be spent in different areas? What is the proper product mix? And if you share this information in a collaborative way, then you can build up. I mean, you can be sure that this is going on in countries like China, where they have a sort of a semi-government intervention into the way the governments operate. We have to use what's the best parts of what they're doing in other countries and try and apply them here. We don't always have the best ideas in Canada. Sometimes we have to look at what's going on abroad. So this is how you build confidence, because when you know from this, basically analyzing the metrics, that you're doing the correct thing, it gives you confidence moving forward that you're and to make investments. Also, we can't ignore the fact that if you're having difficulties, I mean, in Ottawa, we're in a difficult situation. It seems to be everybody and his brothers coming in to protest about something. That's not a good business environment. We know that it comes with the capital of Canada, but obviously it doesn't instill confidence to build businesses around an area where you know there's going to be a trouble center. The other thing that's happening right now is we have a core downtown of empty buildings. I always worked my last contract as I'm an independent project manager. My last contract was Enercan, it was on Booth Street, and literally empty buildings. You could see the tumbleweeds rolling through the buildings, big boxes of junk near the elevators, empty. So obviously that's not going to be a big incentive for businesses to locate and operate. And I think businesses are worried about what the future holds. I'm talking about a situation where the current council dealt more with unknowns than they did with the policies that they promoted going into the election. Okay, so they run on a platform, they have all these different things to say that they're going to do, but then when they actually get in there, they're dealing with derecho, they're dealing with COVID, they're dealing with derailments, they're dealing with everything but what they plan to do. So this is something where we have to be really going into it with the idea that, okay, you're like a prize fighter, you're on your toes, you're ready to shift directions. But I don't see that nimbleness right now, and that's something we have to work on.
Well, thank you very much. Miranda Gray, I want to give you the opportunity to answer this question as well on behalf of the business community. Just to reiterate, we are slow in comparison to other jurisdictions to recover. It's a big word, but how do you think we inspire confidence for investors and for entrepreneurs?
Well, we need to start by getting the current news out of the news cycle internationally. It's not necessarily about who's sitting in the seats at City Hall, but it is about our reputation around the world. And right now, our reputation is we're a place where protesters can take over and run the city for 28 days. We're a place where a major transportation network can be built in a way that it does not work. We need to get those stories out of the news cycle so we can start highlighting positive things about our community. We have lots of positives. We just need to make sure they're getting out there. I would say the other thing we need when we look at city council is I'm thinking about who among the people I think are going to be elected, who would end up on various committees. So I think it's important in our next cycle that it not be just the Canada ward person that's involved in economic development. As someone from the East End, we need to have a story for how we're developing all parts of the city, not just Canada North or just what we can do in governments. We need to be diverse if we're going to attract diverse businesses. So yes, that means working with all 25 people around the table, but it's also hundreds of other organizations in the city and business groups. So it means asking how we can reduce red tape so you can do business faster so that we're not standing in your way. It's about making sure that we look like a peace and good government city so that people want to come here. Why would you want to come to a place where there's transit chaos, traffic grid, an empty downtown, and possibility of being invaded by protesters? Some of those things are beyond what council can do on its own, but in terms of not having constant inquiries is something we can do with transparent government and reducing the complexity. So those would be the two things I would want to focus on there, so that we're changing our story back to being not just a place where you come for tourism, but a place you come to grow your business. So that means we got to tell our story better. All of it's about better storytelling. It's about telling about our successes. It's not just the Nortel success of years ago. It's not just Nokia of today. It's all the other little things. We can't just talk about Shopify and then walk away, stop talking about businesses when Shopify's business realities change. We need to be telling constant stories about groups of different sizes to attract small, medium, and large businesses to invest here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, I said I wouldn't jump in or agree or disagree, but hard not to agree with your sentiments there. All three of your sentiments. It's hard not to be smiling or nodding or say, oh yeah, thumbs up. One commitment on behalf of the business community, and I think Peter mentioned peer groups, and is that we want to continue this dialogue. We want to continue the dialogue with community leaders, with elected council, those on the line here today. We're not endorsing or not endorsing, but elected to council, we want to continue to have the dialogue. If you're not successful, we'd still like to continue to have a dialogue with you as community leaders to keep ideas like this and these conversations rolling back and forth between the business community and between community leaders such as the three of you. That's our commitment and that's our hope. And again, we can't ask for this radical collaboration if we're not willing to do that ourselves. So, I am aware that today was kind of Q&A and not really a traditional roundtable, but there's some complexities, of course, with an election where, you know, again, not wanting to endorse or not wanting to agree or disagree too much throughout, but certainly very appreciative of the three of you, both. And all three from different ridings, Miranda Gray, Carolyn Kropp, and Peter Karwacki. I wanted to extend, on behalf of the business community, a huge thank you to the three of you for being here. If most watching this will be watching on our website, we will be sending this to all of our members as well, with a bit of a notice. They can click in, listen to your answers here. You'll have the opportunity to share things as well. So again, I can't express enough appreciation. I know how busy it is on the campaign trail. Know that you've given up time either from eating lunch right now or from meeting more constituents, shaking more hands and getting your name out there. So thank you again on behalf of the Ottawa Board of Trade. That'll wrap it up. That'll wrap up our roundtable for today. And we will be back tomorrow with another roundtable here for Small Business Week. And again, lots more collaboration to continue. My name is Rick Chase, and on behalf of Su-Ling Cheng and the entire Ottawa Board of Trade, thanks very much for tuning in.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Bye, everybody.